Hi Gemini, welcome to your love reading for May 2019. This is Elizabeth from channeledguidance.com. I've already shuffled the decks for you, so let's go ahead and begin. This is for confirmation, but first let's get you 9 cards from this deck. This is a love reading for the sign of Gemini for May 2019. The first card that you have, Gemini, is the 7 of Swords. Love reading for the sign of Gemini for May. The Wheel. Love reading for the sign of Gemini for May. King of Cups. Love reading for the sign of Gemini for May. Knight of Swords. Love reading for the sign of Gemini for May. 5 of Pentacles. Love reading for the sign of Gemini for May. 4 of Swords. Three of Cups. Love reading for the sign of Gemini for May. 10 of Swords. Love reading for the sign of Gemini for May. And the Page of Coins. Okay, what's the most important thing that Gemini needs to hear about their love life for May 2019? The message that you have, Gemini, is a 6 of Wands. So this does represent victory. For those who are single, it could be that the month of May could be the time where you can find the partner that you're seeking. But this can also be for those who are coupled. This is a victory over any obstacles that you've been facing in your relationship or in your love life. Okay, so we'll go ahead and come back to this card in a few minutes and see how it ties in with the rest of the reading. Also, if you would like to get a private reading with me, just go to my website, channeledguidance.com. I'll put a link down below. And you should be watching this on YouTube channel, Channeled Guidance Tarot. Okay, so let's see what you have going on here. Let's start at the top. You have the 7 of Swords, the Wheel, and the King of Cups. So for some of you, there can definitely be a water sign that is very significant to you. This would be Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, male or female, sun, moon, or rising. This can be you also if you have a moon or rising in the water sign. It can be your partner. It can be an ex. It can be someone who is interfering in your relationship or involved in your relationship in some way. Now, what I see here, I mean, you're starting with the 7 of Swords, so the 7 of Swords can definitely represent that there's been maybe some kind of sneaky behavior. It doesn't necessarily have to be cheating, but it can be, that there's been some dishonesty. The 7 of Swords can also be, somebody is being their own worst enemy. Maybe they've been making bad decisions. They've been hurting the relationship. This card definitely reminds me a lot of the 5 of Swords, which represents sabotage. This can also represent just someone who is in denial. It can definitely be that perhaps someone doesn't want to admit their feelings for you, or somebody doesn't want to admit that their behavior is hurting your relationship. Either way, there's a change around it. You have the Wheel. So the Wheel is saying that there's going to be a positive change in a situation, again, where either somebody has been lying to you, and I've been hearing a lot about that in private readings. Either someone has been lying to you, somebody is lying to themselves, maybe about their feelings for you, or someone is lying, perhaps, again, to themselves and to you, that they're hurting the relationship in some way. There is a positive change around some type of negativity here, and it can be with a water sign. But sometimes I see the King and the Queen of Cups when it's a very emotional situation. Now, in the second row here, you've got the Knight of Swords, the 5 of Coins, and the 4 of Swords. So, I see that there is some unhappiness around you. You have the 5 of Coins. The 5 of Coins can definitely be an energy of, like, somebody just leaving you completely out in the cold. This is like the energy of somebody, like, ghosting you, and you have, like, no idea why. There can definitely be a change around this. So you have change here with the Knight of Swords and change with the Wheel. This is something that changes very unexpectedly for you. So there can be, maybe you're very unhappy right now as you're watching this reading. Maybe there was a deceit. Maybe somebody sabotaged, your relationship. And again, you're feeling very lonely and isolated. With the Knight of Swords here, this can be that the situation changes very quickly. It can be someone returning, or the situation just transforming very quickly. And you do have the 4 of Swords on the other side. So the 4 of Swords, this can definitely be healing in a relationship where there has been some negativity, where either there's been lies, or the person has just been not wanting to accept that they've been hurting the relationship with their behavior. Again, the 4 of Swords represents healing, but can also represent somebody who maybe has asked you for some space. And again, this could be, for some of you, this is what is hurting you. This is why you're suffering. Somebody could have taken a step back from the relationship or from a marriage and kind of said, I need some time to think. They may be trying to figure out how they feel about you. Again, if somebody is trying to figure out how they feel about you, I see this changing in your favor. This is things just turning around very quickly. Of course, for some of you, this can represent an air sign as well. I don't usually get that from the Knights, but for some of you, it can be your energy. But I feel like for those of you where you have an ex or partner who is a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, this can represent their energy here, where again, maybe they've made you very unhappy, but I see this healing, or perhaps somebody has asked you for some space, but I feel like that will turn around in your favor. Now down here, this is interesting as well. You've got the Three of Cups, which is you being extremely happy, the Ten of Swords, and the Page of Coins. I mean, so what I see here, again, you've been deeply hurt with the Ten of Swords. This is, you know, a situation where you have been sometimes, not always, but stabbed in the back, lied to, betrayed in some way. But it just means you've been deeply, deeply hurt. And again, you know, I see that there with the Five of Coins. You've been suffering. You've been feeling very isolated, or somebody has completely ditched you. They've ghosted you and just disappeared. I see you being overjoyed here. So I feel like in a situation where you've just felt like so hurt, you felt so hurt and so betrayed. And more importantly, with the Ten of Swords, the main message from this card is you've not been able to move on. This is an energy where you've hit rock bottom. You've been so hurt. You just, no matter what happens, you cannot move on. Something changes where I see you extremely happy, like you are on top of the world. So it's like the total opposite here. So I feel like for those of you where you're hurting because something fell apart, maybe somebody was, you know, being their own worst enemy, the Seven of Swords, you're suffering, you feel like you've hit rock bottom, you can't move on. A very unexpected change brings you a lot of happiness. You also have the Page of Coins. So I mean, this can definitely be communication, because all the pages represent communication. But this page, this is you looking at things very carefully. Or it can be your partner. Maybe it's the person who hurt you here. It could be that they could be examining their feelings for you. Again, because it's tied up here with the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is someone who is doing a lot of thinking. So it definitely makes sense with the Page of Coins. Someone is looking at their feelings for you and your feelings for them and the possibilities for their relationship. And this has happiness all over. Again, you are overjoyed when this energy comes up. It does represent love, and for some it can represent marriage and children. Again, total opposite of what you have here, where someone is feeling so hurt and so betrayed and you're not able to move on from it. Okay, so let's see what else comes up for the sign of Gemini. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for May? You've got the Nine of Swords. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for May? You've got the Emperor. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for May? And the Ten of Wands. Okay, so let's put that here. I mean, you've got the Nine of Swords. So the Nine of Swords does mean that you are under a lot of stress right now. You're worrying a lot about your relationship or a marriage. And the Nine of Swords does usually mean that you are imagining the worst. That maybe you feel like you've already lost someone. Maybe you feel like someone is not ever going to return. You're focusing on the worst, but keep in mind the Nine of Swords is worry without merit. So your mind's just playing tricks on you. And you're being told here to stay in control. Stay in control, because the Emperor this is all about, you know, being in the driver's seat, taking charge of your life. So, I mean, I feel like for many Gemini, it's like something's going on where, you know, you were deeply hurt here in a relationship, or, you know, somebody betrayed you or lied to you, or just, you know, walked out on you, just left you out in the cold. Someone was, you know, maybe for some of you there was some lying, but again, the Seven of Swords can be just someone that is their own worst enemy. They just made some very bad decisions. You're being told to stay in control here. Take back your power. Don't give, and it can definitely be, don't give all of your power to fear, because I see some of you here being very fed up with the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is a heavy burden. It's heavy energy where you just feel like just dropping everything because you feel like you just can't do it anymore. Keep in mind that although you have some challenging cards here, I see something changing for you here very quickly with the Knight of Swords, and it's lined up with the Three of Cups. So a situation where you felt very, very hurt and abandoned and betrayed, and suddenly with the Knight of Swords, everything changes quickly, and I see you feeling on top of the world. But I feel like the sign of Gemini has to stay in control with the Emperor here, because I see a lot of stress around you. Okay, so let's get some cards from the confirmation deck. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for May? You've got the 9 of Pentacles. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for May? The 3 of Pentacles. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for May? And the Ace of Swords. Okay, so, you know, what I see here is there's definitely, there has to be some work around your love life. You've got the 3 of Coins, which means it's not going to be easy. This usually means that you both have to work together to make things better, to make things happen. The 3 of Pentacles is about hard work, but also teamwork. Both of you together have to make this work. But at the same time, you have the 9 of Pentacles, which is, this is about you. Whoever it is that's watching this video, this is about your self-worth, your self-love, you putting yourself first, because there's definitely something strange going on for the sign of Gemini. I feel like you've been hurt, or there's been lies. Somebody has ghosted you, betrayed you. You've been very hurt, and at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. You have to put yourself first. You can definitely work on your relationship, but the Ace of Swords is also saying that somebody in the relationship, whether it's you or it's your partner, hard to say in a general reading, whoever it is maybe that is creating the problems, they have to start looking at love and your relationship or your marriage in an entirely new light, because the Ace of Swords does represent a clear head, a different perspective. So if there's been, you know, if their mind has been in a weird place where it's been causing a lot of pain, they've been, you know, their own worst enemy, they've, you know, left you suffering, they've got to change the way that they're thinking. At the same time, you've got to work together to make this all happen. Keep in mind the main energy from this deck. I forgot to get one from the other deck. I'm going to do that in a minute. But you had the 6 of Wands. So this was the most important message that you need to hear from all of this. Which, I mean, it's good because you have victory. You can get past either some lies that were told. You can get past this isolation, or, you know, somebody just ghosting you, or somebody betraying you, or a relationship that it's just so hard and you feel like giving up. And this is just a lot of heavy energy, a lot of burdens, or a relationship where you are just stressing about it all the time. You're imagining the worst. Maybe you imagine they're cheating. Maybe you imagine they're going to leave. Main energy, 6 of Wands, victory. You can overcome this. Okay, let me get, because I didn't get a main energy from this deck, so I'm going to do that right now. What's the most important thing that Gemini needs to hear about their love life for May 2019? The message that you have, I mean, the 5 of Swords. I told you that the very first card, the 7 of Swords, reminds me of the 5 of Swords, and now here it is. So for some of you, I mean, it can definitely be, because these are the main energies, 5 of Swords and 6 of Wands, that maybe, yes, there has been some type of sabotage in your relationship or a very bad decision. So I feel like the cards have kind of cleared it up a little bit, that for some of you, maybe it is not cheating. For some of you, it can. Again, this is a general reading, so it's hard to say. But this does not always have to be cheating. It can just be that someone is making very, very bad decisions. And this confirms it. I mean, this can also definitely represent cheating for those of you where you know they are doing that. The 5 of Swords means that, you know, somebody has made some decisions and they do regret them. Usually this card, you make decisions that come back to haunt you. And then you end up looking back and thinking, why did I ever do that? So I feel like something like that has happened for the sign of Gemini. Maybe you're the one who made the mistake, or it can be your partner. I mean, this is an important message for you. It could even be that, you know, if you've been thinking of cheating on your partner, you may not want to do that, because this does usually represent that there are regrets, but you do have victory with this. So again, I feel like for most of you, you're dealing with this as far as your partner, but you are able to overcome this obstacle with the 6 of Wands. This is a sense of victory. And again, I see things changing very quickly with the Knight of Swords, bringing you happiness. Okay, let's go ahead and do the X spread. I have this deck right here. I've already shuffled it, so let me get these out of the way. And for the X spread, it can be someone you had a long-term relationship with, but sometimes people ask, can it be someone that I just dated a few times? And yes, it can be. Also, timing does not matter. So if it was years ago or months ago, it doesn't matter. Okay, show me the energies around Gemini and their X for May. You've got Death, Gemini and their X for May. You've got the 6 of Swords, Gemini and their X for May. 5 of Wands, Gemini and their X for May. You've got the Lovers, Gemini and their X for May. You've got the Double, Gemini and their X for May. And the King of Swords. Okay, so let's take a look at these, and let's see. You don't have any repeat cards, but you do have 3 major arcanas here. I only pulled 6, and 3 out of 6 are major arcanas, which means there's a lot of strong energy around you and your ex. So I mean, you've got Death, the 6 of Swords, and the 5 of Wands. Let's focus on these 3 first. So Death means that, you know, there can be a huge change. I mean, there's nothing more dramatic in the entire deck than this card. There can be something that is a game changer when it comes to your ex. This does usually mean there is some type of like huge event that changes everything, a huge transformation. It can definitely be what you're watching this video for. It can definitely be that your ex pops up in your life again, and you're able to reunite, because it does represent an ending and a new beginning. I feel like if you reunite with your ex, things will be much better. You have the 6 of Swords, which does mean that you're able to have a much healthier relationship, because you did have quite a few issues in the first spread that I did for you. And remember that the main energy was the 5 of Swords, which does usually mean sabotage, or, you know, just like the 7 of Swords, someone is their own worst enemy. So it's good that you have the 6 of Swords, because it does show if there is a new beginning and a big transformation in the relationship with your ex, it's going to be a much healthier relationship. But also the 6 of Swords in general, this is movement. So I mean, we're doing a reading for you and for someone who is no longer in your life for whatever reason, but I still see movement there. Again, with this next to it, that does, you know, kind of show that there is a change in the relationship. And then you have the 5 of Wands. So I mean, the 5 of Wands can be that, you know, maybe there's still some issues there that have not gone away. The 5 of Wands does represent, you know, perhaps there's still some problems. It can definitely be that your ex is struggling. If it's not your ex, it could be you. Maybe you're struggling because they let you down or they really hurt you. The 5 of Wands can mean that somebody is fighting their own feelings. They're struggling with what they're going to do. But I do see a healthy change there. And then this is just like, you know, bang, like a huge change, something that changes everything. Although there was a struggle there, or there were strong differences, the 5 of Wands can mean that you're just very different people. And maybe you broke up because you wanted very different things. But with the 6 of Swords, there can be a healthy change in that relationship. Now, we have your energy here. I feel like for most of you, this is you, because you are an air sign. I feel like you're troubled about this relationship. I mean, the fact that it's the Lovers, which, yes, this is, you know, obviously you reuniting with your ex. To me, the Lovers represents a relationship that you want very much. It's not just like the Knight of Cups or the Ace of Cups. You really want this person back in your life. To you, like, this person is the one. But there's, you know, an elephant in the room here. You have the Devil. I feel like, you know, for some of you, it can definitely be that you have a very difficult history with this person, or, you know, perhaps what they did to you, because you did have, I mean, let me just collect the cards for you here so we can try to connect the dots. But I mean, I feel like there's something really painful that happened to the sign of Gemini. I mean, here's just some of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. And you've got the 10 of Swords, the 10 of Wands, the 5 of Swords. I feel like someone has put you through a lot, and the Devil can definitely be where you are mentally. This can be, you know, negative thinking. You could be feeling very pessimistic because it's with your energy. But I still feel you want this person, with the Lovers being here. Yeah, you've also got, you know, the Lovers is the 6, and you've got the 6 of Swords. The 6s do represent balance and harmony. So it could be that the relationship can be saved. It just needs to be brought back into balance. And that, again, that sense of harmony, which is not there with the 5 of Wands, that is a lot of fighting and bickering and a lot of misunderstandings. That needs to be brought back into balance. But I just feel like this is like, for some of you, it can be that maybe the relationship became unhealthy, maybe towards the end. But I feel like for many of you, it's just there is some very strong negativity associated with that person, yet you still want to be with this person. For you, they are the one. Let me get a few more. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini? Gemini and their ex for May. You've got the Queen of Wands, Gemini and their ex for May. The Hangman, Gemini and their ex for May. 7 of Pentacles, Gemini and their ex for May. The 3 of Wands. So I mean, for some of you, there can be a fire sign. There's two things that I always get from the King and the Queen of Wands. Either, obviously, they're a fire sign, so Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. It can even be you, if you have a Moon or Rising in a fire sign. But more importantly, the King and the Queen of Wands, as an energy, this is going after what you want. This is a very self-confident, fiery energy. Going after, obviously, perhaps you. Perhaps you're the one that's kind of struggling with what happened, what they did. I do see that there's stuck energy around you and your ex with the Hangman. You're in limbo. I see someone that's doing a lot of thinking, and it can be you or it can be your ex. The Seven of Pentacles, this is someone who's being very, very careful about what they're going to do next. And this, for some of you, this can even be advice that maybe you think about very carefully if you're going to accept this person back into your life. Because I do feel like for the sign of Gemini that you do have a chance to reconcile with someone from the past where there was just something very painful. Like, I mean, it's kind of in the league of somebody leaving you at the altar, or somebody cheating on you with your best friend, or again, somebody just ghosting you, and you're like, what in the world just happened here? Being in limbo, being stuck. There's stuck energy around you, yet there's, you know, someone who's doing a lot of thinking and weighing their options. Should I or shouldn't I? What should I do? What should I do next? It can be the person that's trying to get you back, but it can even be you. You also have the Three of Wands, so for some of you there can be waiting, because the Seven of Pentacles does represent, you know, patience. Be patient because someone is being very careful. Maybe it needs to be you. The Three of Wands doesn't mean that there's going to be a perfect opportunity and a perfect timing for you to reunite with this person, because again, with the Lovers, this just keeps standing out as this is the person that you really, really want. Like, no matter what happened, you do not want to give up on them. You don't want anybody else. You don't want somebody new. You want this person. I mean, you do have Death, which shows there can be a big change in that relationship. But again, for some of you, it can be that it's a matter of waiting, because, you know, if there was a lot of painful things, those things need to be worked out. You also have the Ace of Swords, which means that maybe your ex, you know, they need to have a different perspective on your relationship, on what happened. And maybe that will let you have the healthier relationship that we saw here with the Six of Swords. Because I see you having a much healthier relationship with this person, again, with none of the pain and none of the cheating or the lying, whatever it is that happened between you. There is a huge, huge change here with Death, a big transformation. But I do feel like you can reunite. Just be patient, and for those of you where you have doubts, like, take your time making that decision. Okay, Gemini, this has been your love reading for May 2019. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you again next month.